You're listening to Design Between the Lines, the only design and home furnishings podcast where we talk with the movers and shakers, industry innovators, and lifetime legends of the home furnishings industry. It's here that I get a chance to sit and chat with the influencers shaping the industry into what it is today, and to learn a little bit more about life in their world. Tom Conley is the president and CEO of High Point Market Authority, the official sponsor and organizer of High Point Market. Tom has almost 40 years' experience in trade show industries, and his innovative thinking and strategic planning expertise has led to a track record of balanced budgets, increased revenues, and streamlined processes, all resulting in organizations operating more efficiently. I'm honored to have my close friend with me here today. Tom, welcome.
Thanks, John. Glad to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you, and here we are just at the end of the Christmas season, so great to have you here while your time is off from work, and probably you need a little bit of that.
I do. Thank you.
I want to ask you a couple of questions just to kind of get the mood set for our audience. You being the CEO of the High Point Market Authority, what does the CEO of High Point Market Authority know about furniture design per se?
Well, when I came into this job, I didn't know anything about furniture design, but I've learned a lot in the last 5.5 years. I have a great deal of respect for the interior designer as well as for the furniture designer. And I've also learned that while the design is critical, you've got to have a whole team effort behind you to make sure that that design gets merchandised and gets sold and gets ultimately purchased by the consumer.
I would guess that also kind of hails back to your previous experiences in other industries, because I guess marketing, packaging, and having a whole package to present from the day one you're thinking of the idea to it's being in a box and being shipped is all part of other industries as well. What other industries did you have experience in?
You're so right, John. And most recently, from a consumer product standpoint, I was with the Toy Industry Association. And I remember hearing a story that when the first Star Wars came out, Hasbro had a license to do Star Wars products, and they couldn't get it to market in time. So they actually put empty boxes on the shelves with an IOU inside the empty box. And then they delivered the product afterwards. Wow. But and the product turned out to be great and sold a ton. But that's why I say that not only do you need good design, but you've got to go all the way through the manufacturing and the sales and the marketing. So I've been in the toy industry. I've also been in the outdoor recreation industry, fishing, tackle, outdoor products, and spent probably the longest part of my career in the housewares industry, which is closely related to the home furnishings industry because we were involved with products throughout the home, not washers, dryers, and refrigerators, but pretty much anything else throughout the home. And now being in the with the High Point Market, it almost completes the entire home.
So is this tabletop ware and other things as well, or electronics?
Yeah. No, we didn't have electronics. That's pretty much the consumer electronics area. But anything for the kitchen, dining room, living room, some soft goods. So there was some crossover. The Houseware Show, which was the primary moneymaker for the association that I worked for, had products that would come in and out. In fact, it was kind of interesting. My first trip to the High Point Market was at a time when I was employed by the Housewares Association, and the ready-to-assemble furniture folks who were a part of the Houseware Show were debating whether to move to High Point. And we came down to High Point to meet with them and to talk to them and try to convince them that they needed to stay in Chicago at the Houseware Show. They didn't. They moved to High Point because High Point was going through a transformation at that time, and they were deciding whether or not to bring mass merchandisers, whether to invite and to allow mass merchandisers to come to the High Point Market. The High Point Market did and has been very successful in bringing all kinds of buyers, retailers to the High Point Market.
Well, that brings me to kind of a historical reference to the High Point Market Authority. How tell me a little bit of the history of the High Point Market Authority and then kind of relate that to how it's perceived in your mind against other trade shows.
Sure. The High Point Market Authority was started in 2001, so we're a reasonably new organization. Compare that to the High Point Market, which is 107 years old. So, as a percentage of the age of the High Point Market, the Market Authority is actually quite young.
The Market Authority is a group of who is the Market Authority, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we get asked that all the time, and there's some confusion. Part of me wants to make sure that people understand who the Market Authority is, but quite candidly, as long as the attendee has a great experience, I don't care who gets any credit for it. But the High Point Market Authority sets the dates for the High Point Market. We work to provide transportation to all of the almost 100 hotels. We do transportation to all 3 airports in North Carolina, and we also provide all of the shuttles around town during the market. We do a couple days worth of concerts, and I think more importantly from my perspective, because I'm more on the marketing side, we protect and promote the brand on a global basis. So our job is to recruit and retain buyers to come to the market on a global basis, and that includes everything doing the registration and making sure that we have all the ads and the social media and the brochures and all the things that it takes to successfully execute this market.
So you said it started in 2001?
Yes.
So in the last 15 years, how's it grown? How's it developed?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because as a trade show model, we're probably the most unique in the world. By and large, trade show organizers have what they call a European model, or they have more the U.S. model. The European model is usually one where a city gets together and creates an authority or creates an entity, builds buildings, and then focuses on a couple different industries and promotes trade shows in those industries. If you look to the major cities in Germany, you'll see that and see how that works.
Like Cologne.
And Frankfurt and other German cities like that. Okay. On the other hand, the American model typically is that an organizer, be it a for-profit or a non-for-profit organizer, goes in, rents a facility, sells the space, promotes the show, and then keeps whatever money is left over. We're a sort of a blend in that we are probably closer to the European model, although all the buildings, all the facilities are owned by individuals, by entrepreneurs, not by a state entity or a county entity or something like that.
I'm seeing, and I'm sure you attend some other fairs to kind of get your perspective, and you see what they're doing,
yes,
and you kind of see what you're doing and say, gee, we could take advantage of this, we could do. I noticed this past market a definite trend towards support, even greater support than you've been doing previously, towards design creatives, if I could use that term, both in interior design and in actual product design, where you're giving them input from all kinds of different areas. I'm thinking what's the group that was on the stage at High Point
Fashion
Market?
Snoops, yes.
Fashion Snoops,
yes.
Yeah. Great hour and a half. It was just a wonderful presentation there. Is that something that's a trend for the future for you?
It is, for a couple of reasons. I firmly believe that good design is good design, and it will show its way to the industry and to the consumer, whether it be in the product or whether it be in how the product's used, how all of the various products are assembled for a finished look or feel. But by the same token, because of the consolidation that's taken place in the retail industry, we've got to pay more attention to the designer, because the designer is driving business today. More and more manufacturers have the trade-only kind of programs where they're selling to the designer as well as a separate line for the retailer. So it's a very different market today than it was even 5 to 10 years ago.
So I hear you saying in general, I guess we've heard a lot about that. From our industry organs that we read regularly, there are less retailers, less people to sell, the same, and fewer manufacturers in many cases.
Yes.
So the market is squeezing a little bit, or contracting, if you will, and yet you're still developing a fairly strong revenue stream. How are the other channels of distribution affecting attendance, and are you building other channels of distribution that really never existed those 4 or 5 years ago?
I think that's absolutely correct. Yes, I saw a piece that somebody had done that talks about 89 different channels in the home furnishings industry. It's a bit of a stretch. I don't think anybody could name 89 different channels, but quite frankly, it does point out the fact that if you are doing business in this industry, there's a lot of different ways to reach the consumer, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through the traditional retailer. For example, John, there's a company that is selling stock. It's on the U.S. Stock Exchange. They sell mattresses, and you get a mattress rolled up, and it comes to your home. And who would have thought that business is multi-million dollars today? 5 years ago, that company did not exist. When you look at some of the internet-based companies, whether they be Wayfair or One Kings Lane or the other kind of companies, there's been a huge transformation in the way consumers buy product.
Tom, I'm still receiving therapy on my right ankle from our 400,000 square meter walk around the Shanghai show at the CIFF show in Shanghai this past September. I was amazed. First of all, the opportunity was wonderful for High Point Market Authority to talk to a huge number of consumers and retailers about American furniture, about High Point Market. And we had the wonderful opportunity at the American Society of Furniture Designers to talk about the history of our organization and what American design is about. I'd like you to maybe say a couple of things to that experience, because I was amazed. I don't know what you felt like. I think you were kind of equally surprised, I guess, a little bit about attendance and interest.
Very, very much so. And John, it takes a trip like that, I think, for us to be reminded of how well regarded America is, and American brands, and in our industry, American design. We, as an industry, have sort of gone through this catharsis about, oh my gosh, we lost all our manufacturing. We haven't lost all our manufacturing. We've lost a lot of manufacturing. But one of the things that I think we have to remember and be proud of, whether the manufacturing comes back or not, is that American design, American branding, American marketing is the best in the world, absolutely the best in the world. And so if there's a way for us to leverage that in the global marketplace, we need to find ways of doing that. And I think our experience in Shanghai was a good reminder of that, because as you said, people walked through the exhibition hall, they came to our area, which I think was beautiful, got a chance to see a lot of your former winners from your design competition.
Awards, yeah.
Yep, those Pinnacle Awards were very well received. In fact, I understand you're even going to do one now in Asia, which is going to be great. And so you got a chance to tell your story. We got a chance to tell our story. And everybody was not only very nice and cordial to us, but as I say, it does really help us to remind us about how significant American design and American marketing is.
You know, as we had a couple of interesting dinners while we were in Shanghai with young people, with people that are in that 22 to 35 age group that were telling us that there is huge interest for American designs, products, etc. in Asia as well as in China, and then showing us by bringing other people to those dinners who didn't have an iron in the fire, if you will,
sure,
but told us they're looking and they're asking. And now there's a pressure to bring more in. So that really said something to me about the surprise and the amazement we had for that whole experience, I guess.
Well, that's exactly right. And as you recall, we got a chance to do a little sightseeing and explore some other retail opportunities. I think your listeners should know that you stood me up and walked outside so you could talk to Donny Osmond. I was very, very, very impressed. But we did get a chance to walk around and see a lot of American brands, and we got to see restaurants that were serving in a more American style. We got to really experience the impact of that American brand. Buick is manufactured in China, but there's the Buick nameplate is on the roads as we either sit in traffic and complain about the traffic as we're trying to get to the exhibition hall. But it is really, really true. And so we've just got to keep remembering that in the home furnishings industry, we've got a lot to offer the world. One of the things that I learned that was really fascinating is that within the next 5 to 10 years, the middle class in China will equal or exceed the entire population of the U.S. Now, there's a market that somebody needs to think about selling to. And these are, as you suggest, the millennials, the younger folks that are very brand conscious, very brand aware. We're competing against U.S. brands and European brands and Chinese brands, but we've got to make sure that the U.S. brands win as best as they possibly can.
That goes to that statement. You remember when we got to meet the head of Ralph Lauren's branding group
Yes.
over there, and he threw numbers up on a screen about the number of Asian students across the board, 8-9 Asian countries, who currently are in American universities all over the country, studying everything from design to engineering, quite a few in design, product design and engineering. And going back home after 4 or 5, 6 years if they're in
Yes.
graduate school, and they're educated on our branding.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other marks that I'd like to make a statement about. That's that other push because they're at home with American brands.
That is exactly right. And you'll remember, while Ralph Lauren was his biggest client, he had other clients, U.S. companies. He had a U.S. designer. He's a very savvy, very smart guy. But the breadth and depth of his brands that he represents in Asia ought to be a real lesson for American marketers, regardless of where they are in the distribution channel. And your primary audience is a designer, whether that designer is a furniture designer or an interior designer or both. There's huge opportunities for them to sort of explore the world and use that as their oyster, as they say.
Well, speaking of international trade shows, let's bring it back to High Point for a moment, and let's talk about what new designers that are landing here in High Point need to know about the High Point market. Maybe it's their first time, and
Sure.
they're landing here in downtown, and they've got X number of million square feet that they can go to. What do they need to know?
Well, I think they need to know that if they land here and haven't done their homework, haven't prepared, that they're not going to have a good experience. So the thing that we push most is be prepared. Go on our website, look at the exhibitors, plot your course. We've made it even easier for buyers, whether they be a designer, retailer, whatever they happen to be, because we've created a mobile app so that once they've decided who they wanted to see, the app can help them get there faster, easier, and more efficiently. So
I think I used this last market. You actually have maps that are inside the buildings where you can get. How'd you work that out?
Yeah, that was a real fun experience. We hired a firm out of Charlotte, and they had a partnership with a group out of Austria, and the Austrian company had actually done the San Francisco airport. And so they use what are called beacons, and these are battery-driven devices. They're about 2 inches in square, and we stick them up around the different floors of the buildings, and then the Bluetooth on your phone interacts with these beacons. It triangulates where you are, and then we embed maps into the software. So it's a real unique kind of a process that really helps people navigate. So once they've got everything planned out, they show up here, and then there's opportunities to learn, to network, and also to see new products. Trade shows in general are more than just new products.
So number one, do your homework.
Absolutely.
Before you get here. Have your plan of action mapped out. I know your app works beautifully for that because you can literally make a day-by-day list of where you want to go.
Absolutely.
in addition to that, then obviously if you know your market, then you kind of know where you're going to go showroom wise, and then look at and discover the lectures, the seminars, the round table discussions, and there's tons of them every day during these shows. I understand, especially in High Point.
Yes.
To take part in what's meaningful to you.
That is exactly right, and there's also opportunities for networking. I mean, just the fact that you can rub shoulders with some of the big names, get a chance to meet them, whether it's in a social environment or whether it's through a seminar or you run into them in the showrooms that you're visiting. It's a real good opportunity to learn and to share and to grow.
I don't know a better opportunity to learn than to have a social gathering where you network in a relaxed atmosphere, exchange views. In the case of students, to rub elbows with the industry, top designers, great opportunities. Your social media, I understand, speaks to that. In terms of you're on, I think you're on. Are you not on Instagram?
Yes, we're on just about every channel. Yes.
Okay, and that's wise to use those channels as well prior to your arrival at any show, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Tom, your time at market is, I gotta think it's akin to running for office. You're kissing babies and you're everywhere at market during the show for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the main one is to make sure the show is vibrant. It's a continuing, supportive, living organ, if you will, for our industry. With that thought in mind, there's so many things going on. Can you give me an example or two of a social gathering, networking thing that ended up being a positive for someone? Or
Sure. I think about the fact that Architectural Digest missed a party that they had because of HB2. And the kind of concern that we heard from the design community, because they look forward to that particular event. That was last April. And they reinstated it this past October. And so here was a social gathering, basically the who's who. You got to have a special invitation to get in, and more deals are done. I'm told at that AD party than perhaps in some of the showrooms. So it is an opportunity for folks to get to see one another, to know one another. Another thing that we really push is for students to come to market. Students are our future. I believe in that very, very strongly. We tried to do programs in all the trade shows that I've been involved with for students, and this one is no different. And the younger students are much more entrepreneurial, I think, than we've ever seen in the past. And so here's an opportunity for them to come to market, to get an understanding of how the distribution system works. And some may like it, some may not. There's been some cases where they said, hey, there's got to be a better way, and they went out and done something differently. But just having the people come together and talk to one another, and having the opportunity to see product, talk about how things happen, as well as exchanging ideas, is very, very critical.
I know of a couple of instances where at some of these social gatherings, most recently at the October market, there was an anniversary for SFC, and Libby Langdon was the MC of that, and she responded to a couple of students from that. They never expected a response by email after the event, but they got one, and that says something about our industry, the designers, and the fact that they want to support young people coming into this industry. I'm guessing that's the same thing for High Point Market Authority. You want to see more people coming into our industry that are creative, that are forward-thinking. I'm guessing that's true for...
Oh, that's absolutely true. And one of the things that amazes me is that when you see designers get together, I don't get any sense of competition, but a huge sense of collaboration. because they really want to learn from each other, they want to share from each other, and they want to learn about the business, because it's one thing to be creative, and we've got a ton of very creative people. It's another thing to be successful. And so what we want to do is that we want to have creative and successful people come to market, keep coming back to market, and then to share not only their creative thoughts, but their successful practices with the younger, more inexperienced folks that do come to market. And that's the other thing that needs to be said about market. Yes, we've got some very well-known, very sophisticated folks that make a lot of money. But we've also got folks that are just starting out, people that have been maybe in their living room or their dining room working on a business for a year and a half, and it's time to take that next step, come to market, and really move the business forward. And so we do welcome them.
Well, and that's another, I think that goes to, from the American Society of Furniture Designers side, we have a whole, a new category of membership that are maker designers. And many of these folks, men and women, are involved in creating a product and marketing it online, and they get to a certain level, and it's advisable to come to a show like this and see if it isn't time to take the next step for them, or to take that next step with maybe another manufacturer who could make more of that product that's very popular if they wish to have them do that. So that's an opportunity. But the third opportunity they may miss if they're not here is to see what's going on.
Right.
To see the trends, to hear about the trends at all of the various venues of social gatherings, the networking, the educational seminars. If you're not here, you're missing out.
Well, that is exactly right. You know, John, there's so much talk about virtual reality, and I think virtual reality is going to be an important part of our culture as we move forward. But I'm a firm believer that virtual reality will never replace trade shows, and it will never replace trade shows, because not only is the product different when you see it with your own two eyes, but the opportunity to meet with people face to face, see their expressions, learn, network, all of those kind of interpersonal things that we as human beings desperately crave, especially in this business. And so the High Point Market is an integral part of the designer's life, regardless of where he or she may be in their life cycle, and we want to welcome all of them.
From a design perspective, especially home furnishings design, you're missing out on texture. You can see colors. You can see an accurate photo. Is that accurate to what it is when you're standing in front of the product? Probably not. So from a virtual reality standpoint, I don't think you're going to ever be able to, I'll probably be proven wrong down the road. I may not be alive to find out that happens, but
neither will I.
But you're missing out on the touch and feel, and that's where home furnishings is all about. People want to be happy with what they buy in their own home, on the walls, on the floor, what they sit in, what they use every day. And if it doesn't bring a smile on their face, why have it?
Well, that is exactly right. Well, the other benefit, of course, is basically the size of most home furnishings. A rep can't throw it in the back of their car and lug it in and show it to a prospective buyer.
Although I know a few have tried.
I know they have tried too, and they keep getting bigger and bigger vans. What can you say? But just we have so much going for us that really demands that we see each other on a regular basis. Frequency is up to both the exhibitor as well as the designer, but we've got to see each other.
So we're speaking a little bit of futurism with the virtual reality thing. What's your vision of the future of High Point Market?
Well, I think the High Point Market has to find a way to accommodate all of these new entrepreneurs that are coming into the market from a manufacturing standpoint. So we've got to make sure that we have good, inexpensive space for them to show their wares. We also have to find a way to push in and consolidate the footprint of the High Point Market as best as we can, so that we are as efficient for the buyer as we can. And sometimes those are conflicting issues and ideas. So we'll be looking to talk to manufacturers, we'll be looking to talk to building owners, we'll be looking to spend a lot of time talking to the city of High Point about how they improve the layout, what they do from a zoning perspective, some of the new things that they're talking about to enhance the city of High Point. So there's a lot of challenges for us. We've got a full plate, but we're looking forward to it.
So it's all about the experience.
It is all about the experience. If we had one model that we hold out, it's Disney. When you take your family to Disney, it is all about the experience. I know that my son and his kids went down to Disney and they talked about the armbands. Disney spent over $1 billion developing that technology, so the experience was perfect. We don't have those kind of resources. We spend a lot of money for the app, but we're going to work to make sure that the experience is as close to Disney as it possibly can be.
This coming market, and when we're recording this, we're just ahead of the 2017. It's the April market coming up. When does registration start for that market?
Right. Registration opens on January 17th, so it's right around the corner.
So you'll be issuing a press release for everyone to...
Yes, we will be.
Very good. Very good. Well, Tom, I appreciate you taking the time to stop in and talk to our listeners today and share some ideas, thoughts, perspective from your standpoint with designers all over and those who want to be in our industry. Thank you for your time.
John, thanks for the opportunity.
I want to thank my guest, Tom Conley, for sharing his thoughts today on the world of the designer from his perspective as the CEO of the High Point Market Authority. This episode of Design Between the Lines is sponsored by Furniture Today, the weekly business newspaper for the U.S. furniture industry. Furniture Today is the complete information source for the furniture industry, providing retailer and manufacturing news and research, plus product trends and market analysis. Design Between the Lines is produced by Element Studio with the American Society of Furniture Designers. We're recorded in High Point, North Carolina. To learn more about ASFD, visit asfd.com. And don't forget to subscribe to hear more industry stories of Design Between the Lines.